Vineheil Star fam. How are you? You good? Good. Today's juice is sweet potato, turmeric root, ginger, a cosmic apple. What else is in there? Cosmic apple, ginger, turmeric root. Oh, and 2 oranges and a grapefruit. Okay. I've never juiced a sweet potato before, so this was a new moment. We're doing new things. And so I've been seeing on the interwebs, Harriet Tubman's interwebs, that's important, that Doechii won a Grammy, Best Rap Album, I believe. And she's one of 3 Black women who won a Grammy in the lifetime of this category existing, which I think is so super dope. And one of the things that I learned about Doechii that is also dope is that she was finding her way, and she was struggling a little bit. I'm gonna say struggling a little bit and finding her way. And one of the tools that she used to get on track to the trajectory that she is on now, which is unlimited possibilities, unlimited success, was this book. It's called The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. And I found it was something that came up for me on YouTube. Some guy was talking about the book that Doechii said that she was reading, and she actually used her YouTube platform to go through the steps. The Artist's Way is actually a 12-week course, and one of the 2 main, I'm gonna say, one of the 2 main things that you do in this course is really important. I'm just starting this. I'd never heard of this book before. I have some artist friends who have heard of this book and have used it. But one of the 2 main things you do when you're using this book, the first one is you write what's called morning papers, which is essentially journaling. As soon as you get up in the morning, you write 3 pages. You just write them down. And it's basically essentially a brain dump. And whatever is coming up for you, you just write it out. And the intention behind this is that you are writing out your blocks. You don't know that you're doing that when you're writing, because you're just writing stuff out. But it's almost like when you're making broth, and anyone who's ever made broth knows that, and it depends on what kind of broth you're making, because vegetable broth doesn't necessarily have this. But let's say you're making chicken broth. When you're cooking down a chicken carcass, this sounds so gross. This foam that comes up, and people call it scum, they call it all sorts of things, but you're supposed to skim that top layer of nonsense off, and then you have this really beautiful clarified broth as it continues to cook. That is the very, I'm sure there's some other things that go along with it. I've been a vegetarian for the better part of like 20 some odd years, so that's not necessarily my ministry, but I have made broth before. I have made chicken broth before. So that's the idea, that as you're sleeping, when you first wake up, there's some stuff that needs to be skimmed off. And we don't often do that. We don't often, even think to write it out. Some people do, some people don't. And this journaling process in the morning is essentially clearing that nonsense away. And what you're left with for the rest of the day is this clarified energy around yourself. That's how I'm taking it. And I've been doing these morning pages, even though I'm really just starting this book, but I've been intentional about doing these morning pages every day for the last several weeks. And I have been noticing an interesting difference. There's a clarity that I have. The next thing that you do within this course that is like the two stable things that you do every day for this course is you go on an artist date. And the artist date can be anything. It's essentially creating a relationship with that part of yourself that is childlike, the baby self of you that was maybe not honored when you were growing up, maybe not seen or heard or allowed to be as you got older. Because, you know, when you get older, you gotta be serious. You gotta find a job. You have to be an intentional member of society. You have to be serious. I'm calling it the seasoning. Like, life can be beige chicken, and if you ain't got no spices, it's just beige, unseasoned. And so this idea behind the artist date is to nourish that, to put energy towards that, to pour love into the aspect of yourself that is creative and wants to make things and not necessarily make it a job or even a hobby. It just wants to exist as itself. And I'm saying this as someone who is new into this course. So as I continue on with it, I may change my mind, but this is my initial understanding of what I am reading in this book. And I bring this into the field because Doechii did this process. She did this process, I want to say 4 years ago, because it's been 4 years and you see her journey from working at Chipotle, getting fired from Chipotle, and beginning this course and changing the whole trajectory of her career. She's now a Grammy Award winning artist, one of 3 ever that existed. And I think that's dope, and it's interesting that changing the relationship you have with yourself can change the relationship you have with how you show up in this life experience, in this earth school experience. And I'm also saying that because this morning, I have been saying that I host Stop, Drop, and Meditate on Facebook Live, and it's part of my spiritual input to how I'm interacting with the world right now. I'm holding the space not only for myself, because we talked about yesterday, all healing is self-healing, but I'm also creating a field. And what people don't understand about holding the space, holding visual, doing any kind of energy work, it is work. So I'm not just sitting there. I am being intentional as a practitioner. I'm being intentional of what my thoughts are doing. I'm being intentional about what my body is doing. I am holding stillness. I am holding the physiology of peace. I'm holding the physiology of love and beauty and joy and health and wealth and well-being and completeness and healing and perfection. That is energetic work, creating a field and holding a field. It takes practice, it takes daily intention, and it takes intention, and it takes willingness. And I woke up this morning and I was doing my morning papers, and I was realizing that time was going by, and by the time I completed, you're only supposed to do 3 pages I do more because I'm extra, but in a loving way. And I realized that I was running late for Stop, Drop, and Meditate. And then there was a part of me that was like, nah, I don't want to do it today. Like, I really didn't want to do it. And even though it has been my intention to hold this space 7 days a week for at least the first 30 days, and then I could, drop off and do Monday through Friday. I was like, well, there's a part of you go, well, I don't have to do it today. I've been doing it every day since. And instead of fighting with that part of myself, I just watched it and I got ready anyway. I paid attention to it, but I got ready anyway. I acknowledged how I felt and how I feel, but I got ready anyway. And time just kept on ticking. And I was like, ooh, child, I might not make it today, but I showed up anyway. And it turned out to be a really good meditation. It turned out to be really powerful. I felt empowered by it. And I wasn't exactly sure how I was wanting to talk about this because I didn't want it to be convoluted. But the way that Spirit is speaking to me about this is that there are going to be times when we don't want to do the work. There are going to be times when life is lifing and it would be easier to just not. And depending on what you're wanting to experience, maybe not doing it is the answer. But I think what's coming through for me, and I'm not going to say I feel like what's coming through for me is that resistance is the gateway to that's how you know you're pushing through. Because again, once there's a part of yourself, once you change, you're really starting to change, you're really starting to move, you're really starting to show up and you're seeing change. There's something, that old aspect of you, that caterpillar self, it was like, nah, I don't really need to be a butterfly. Butterflies are pretty and everything, but this caterpillar energy is really comfortable. And that resistance to change, that resistance to transformation, that resistance to elevation, that resistance to becoming this other version of you that has always existed, that was always designed to exist. There is a process that we go through, the goo phase, when everything is dissolved and the butterfly cells are starting to, coagulate, and those lingering caterpillar cells are like, nah, I don't want to do this. That resistance is when you know it's time to push through. Get ready anyway, even if you don't feel like it. Put your face on, even if you don't feel like it. Get your books out, even if you don't feel like it, and see what comes of it. So I just wanted to put that in the field. If you are a fan of Doechii and you have been following her story, or you're new to her and you just got introduced to her because she won a Grammy, the book is called The Artist's Way, and it's by Julia Cameron, and I have the 30th anniversary edition. It is a 12-week course. I'm going to be doing it. I don't know how much of my experience I'm going to be sharing in this way, but if you are looking for a way and a path to push through your own caterpillar energy, this might be a start for you. Levine Heil, and I'll see you later. I love you. Bye.